Najd or Nejd is the geographical central region of Saudi Arabia in which 28% of Saudis live. Najd consists of the regions of Riyadh and Najd. Najdis were sometimes referred to in the past as the dominant minority in Saudi Arabia and, unlike Hejaz, Najd is very remote and had largely avoided falling under foreign control. History. Pre-Islamic era. In pre-Islamic times the region of Najd was settled by many tribes like the Kendites, Tayy and many others. Led by Usama bin Lu'ay, the Tayy invaded the mountains of Ajjar and Samra from Banu Tamim in northern Arabia in their exodus from Yemen in 115 CE. These mountains are now known as Jabal Shammah. The Tayy became nomadic camel herders and horse breeders in northern Najd for centuries. In the 5th century CE, the tribes of North Arabia became a major threat to the trade line between Yemen and Syria. The Emirates decided to establish a vassal state that controlled Central and North Arabia. The Kendites gained strength and numbers to play that role, and in 425 CE the Emirate king Hassan ibn Amr ibn Tuba made Ujayr Akil al-Murra ibn Amr the first king of Kindar. The Kendites established a kingdom in Najd in Central Arabia, and like the organized states of Yemen, its kings exercised an influence over a number of associated tribes more by personal prestige than by coercive settled authority. Their first capital was Qariat Dhat Kahal, today known as Qariat al-Fawr. The Ghassanids, Lakhmids and Kendites were all Karlana and Khatani vassal kingdoms appointed by the Byzantines, Persians and Emirates to protect their borders and imperial interests from the raids of the then rising threat of the Adnani tribes. In the 5th and 6th centuries CE the Kendites made the first real concerted effort to unite all the tribes of Central Arabia through alliances, and focused on wars with the Lakhmids. Al-Harith ibn Amr, the most famous of their kings, finally succeeded in capturing the Lakhmid capital of Al-Ira in southern modern-day Iraq. Later, however, in about 529, Al-Mundir recaptured the city and put King Harith and about 50 members of his family to death. In 525 CE, the Aksamites invaded Imyah, and this Kendites had a knock-on effect with the Kendites who lost the support of the Emirates. Within 3 years the Kendite kingdom had split into 4 groups: Asad, Talib, Qis and Kinana, each led by a prince of Kindar. These small principalities were then overthrown in the 530s and 540s in a series of uprisings of the Adnani tribes of Najd and Hejaz. In 540 CE, the Lakhmids destroyed all the Kendite settlements in Najd, forcing the majority of them to move to the Yemen. The Kendites and most of the Arab tribes switched their alliances to the Lakhmids. During Muhammad's era. During the Islamic prophet Muhammad's era, Muhammad carried out military expeditions in the area. The first was the Najd caravan raid against the Quraysh, which took place in 624. The Meccans, led by Safwan ibn Umayyah, who lived on trade, left in summer for Syria for their seasonal trade business. After Muhammad received intelligence about the caravan's route, Muhammad ordered Zayd ibn Haritha to go after the caravan, and they successfully raided it and captured 100,000 dirhams worth of booty. The invasion of Najd happened in Rabi' ath-Thani or Jumada al-Ula, 4 AHIE. In October 625 AD, Muhammad led his fighters to Najd to scare off some tribes he believed had suspicious intentions. Some scholars say the expedition of Dhat al-Rika took place in Najd as part of this invasion. The most authentic opinion, according to Saifur Rahman al-Mubarakpuri, however, is that Dhat al-Rika campaign took place after the fall of Qarabah. This is supported by the fact that Abu Hurairah and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari witnessed the battle. Abu Hurairah embraced Islam only some days before Qarabah, and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari came back from Abyssinia and joined Muhammad at Qarabah. The rules relating to the prayer of fear which Muhammad observed at Dhat campaign were revealed at the Asfan invasion, and this, scholars say, took place after Al-Khandak. The expedition of Qahtan also took place in Nejd. Banu Asad ibn Khuzaimah tribe were the residents of Qahtan, in the vicinity of Faid, was a powerful tribe connected with the Quraysh. They resided near the hill of Qahtan in Nejd. Muhammad received intelligence reports that they were planning a raid on Medina, so he dispatched a force of 150 men under the leadership of Abu Salama Abdallah ibn Abdal-Asad to make a sudden attack on this tribe. After Muhammad's death, after Muhammad's death, previously dormant tensions between the Meccan immigrants, the Muhajirun, and the Medinan converts, the Ansar, threatened to break out and split the Ummah. Other Arabic tribes also wished to revert to local leadership and split from Medina's control. In some places, people claiming prophethood started to establish leaderships to oppose Medina, e.g., Al-Aswad al-Ansi and Musaylima, all of which are events that led to splitting the Muslim community. The Ansar, the leaders of the tribes of Medina, met in a hall or house called Saqifa, to discuss whom they would support as their new leader. When Abu Bakr was informed of the meeting, he, Umar, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah and a few others rushed to prevent the Ansar from making a premature decision. During the meeting, Umar declared that Abu Bakr should be the new leader, and declared his allegiance to Abu Bakr, followed by Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, and thus Abu Bakr became the first Muslim caliph. Apostasy and rebellion in Central Arabia was led by Ahmad bin Farisi, a self-proclaimed prophet, in the fertile region of Yamamah. He was mainly supported by the powerful tribe of Banu Hanifa. At Buzakar in north-central Arabia, another self-proclaimed prophet, Tulayha, a tribal chief of Bani Asad, led the rebellion against Medina, aided by the allied tribes of Banu Ghatfan, the Hawazin, and the Tayy. At Najd, Malik ibn Nuwayra led the tribes of Banu Tamim against the authority of Medina. On receiving intelligence of the Muslims' preparations, Tulayha too prepared for a battle, and was further reinforced by the contingents of the allied tribes. Before launching Khalid against Tulayha, Abu Bakr sought ways and means of reducing the latter's strength, so that the battle could be fought with the maximum prospects of victory. Nothing could be done about the tribes of Bani Asad and Banu Ghatfan, which stood solidly behind Tulayha. But the Tayy were not so staunch in their support of Tulayha, and their chief, Adi ibn Hatim, was a devout Muslim. Adi was appointed by Abu Bakr to negotiate with the tribal elders to withdraw their contingent from Tulayha's army. The negotiations were a success, and Adi brought with him 500 horsemen of his tribe to reinforce Khalid's army. Khalid next marched against another apostate tribe, Jadila. Here again Adi ibn Hatim offered his services to persuade the tribe to submit without bloodshed. Bani Jadila submitted, and their 1,000 warriors joined Khalid's army. Khalid, now much stronger than when he had left Jukisa, marched for Buzakar. There, in mid-September 632 CE, he defeated Tulayha in the Battle of Buzakar. The remaining army of Tulayha retreated to Gamra, 20 miles from Buzakar, and were defeated in the Battle of Gamra in the third week of September 632 CE. Several tribes submitted to the Caliph after Khalid's decisive victories. Moving south from Buzakar, Khalid reached Nakra in October 632 CE, with an army now 6,000 strong. He defeated the rebel tribe of Banu Salim in the Battle of Nakra, 632 in third week of October 632 CE. Khalid defeated a tribal mistress, Salma, in the Battle of Zafar. Afterwards he moved to Najd against the rebel tribe of Banu Tamim in the Sheikh Malik ibn Nuwayra at Najd. Getting the news of Khalid's decisive victories against apostates in Buzaka, many clans of Banu Tamim hastened to visit Khalid. But the Banu Yabu, a branch of Banu Tamim, under their chief, Malik ibn Nuwayra, hung back. Malik was a chief of some distinction, a warrior, noted for his generosity, and a famous poet. Bravery, generosity, and poetry were the three qualities most admired among the Arabs. At the time of Muhammad, he had been appointed as a tax collector for the tribe of Banu Tamim. As soon as Malik heard of the death of Muhammad, he gave back all the tax to his tribe's people, saying, "Now you are the owner of your wealth." Moreover, he was to be charged because he signed a pact with the self-proclaimed prophet Sajjah. This agreement stated that first they would deal with local enemy tribes together, and then they would confront the state of Medina. His riders were stopped by Khalid's army at the town of Butter. Khalid asked them about the signing of pact with Sajjah. They said it was just because they wanted revenge against their terrible enemies. When Khalid reached Najd, he found no opposing army. He sent his cavalry to nearby villages and ordered them to call the azan to each party they meet. Zira bin Azwar, a squadron leader, arrested the family of Malik, claiming they did not answer the call to prayer. Malik avoided direct contact with Khalid's army and ordered his followers to scatter, and he and his family apparently moved away across the desert. He refused to give zakat, hence differentiating between prayer and zakat. Nevertheless, Malik was accused of rebellion against the state of Medina. He was also to be charged for his entering in an anti-caliphate alliance with Sajjah, a self-proclaimed prophetess. Malik was arrested along with his clan men. Malik was asked by Khalid about his crimes. Malik's response was, "Your master said this, your master said that," referring to Abu Bakr. Khalid declared Malik a rebel apostate and ordered his execution. Khalid bin Walid killed Malik ibn Nuwayra. Shias claim that Islamically, Khalid would have had to wait for her to complete the waiting period before Khalid would have been able to marry her. Sunnis believe that since Malik and his tribe were judged apostates, they were taken captives and IDDA rules do not apply to apostates. Shias also claim that Abu Qatada Ansari was so shocked at Malik's murder by Khalid that he immediately returned to Medina, and told Abu Bakr that he would not serve under a commander who had killed a Muslim. The death of Malik and Khalid's taking of his wife Layla created a controversy. Some officers of his army, including a prominent companion of Muhammad, Abu Qatada, believed that Khalid killed Malik to take his wife. After the pressure exerted by Umar, Khalid's cousin and one of Caliph Abu Bakr's main advisors, Abu Bakr called Khalid back to Medina to explain himself. In Medina, Umar told Khalid, "You enemy of Allah, you killed a Muslim man and then rape his wife. By Allah, I will stone you." Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl, one of the corps commanders, was instructed to make contact with Musaylimah at Jamamah, but not to engage in fighting until Khalid joined him. Abu Bakr's intention in giving Ikrimah this mission was to tie Musaylimah down at Jamamah. With Ikrimah on the horizon, Musaylimah would remain in expectation of a Muslim attack, and thus not be able to leave his base. With Musaylimah so committed, Khalid would be free to deal with the apostate tribes of north-central Arabia without interference from Yamamah. Meanwhile, Abu Bakr sent Shurabil's corps to reinforce Ikrimah at Jamamah. Ikrimah, however, in early September 632 AD attacked Musaylimah's forces and was defeated. He wrote the details of his actions to Abu Bakr, who, both pained and angered by the rashness of Ikrimah and his disobedience, ordered him to proceed with his force to Oman to assist Hudayfa. Once Hudayfa had completed his task, to march to Mara to help Afahar, and thereafter go to Yemen to help Muhajir. Meanwhile, Abu Bakr sent orders to Khalid to march against Musaylima. Shurabil's corps, that was stationed at Jamamah, was to reinforce Khalid's corps. In addition to this, Abu Bakr assembled the fresh army of Ansar and Muhajirin in Medina that joined Khalid's corps at Butar. From Butar, Khalid marched to Yamamah to join with Shurabil's corps, though Abu Bakr had instructed Shurabil not to engage Musaylima's forces until the arrival of Khalid. Shortly before the arrival of Khalid, Shurabil engaged Musaylima's forces and was defeated too. Khalid joined with the corps of Shurabil early in December 632. The combined force of Muslims, now 13,000 strong, defeated Musaylima's army in the Battle of Yamamah, which was fought in the third week of December 632 CE. The fortified city of Yamamah surrendered peacefully later that week. Khalid established his headquarters at Jamamah, from where he dispatched columns to all over the plain of Akraba to subdue the region around Yamamah and to kill or capture all who resisted. Thereafter all of Central Arabia submitted to Medina. What remained of the apostasy in the less vital areas of Arabia was rooted out by the Muslims in a series of well-planned campaigns within 5 months. After Ridda wars till 10th century, Muhammad's followers rapidly expanded the territory under Muslim rule beyond Arabia, conquering huge swathes of territory in a matter of decades. In so doing, Arabia soon became a politically peripheral region of the Muslim world as the focus shifted to the more developed conquered lands. From the 10th century to the early 20th century, Mecca and Medina were under the control of a local Arab ruler known as the Sharif of Mecca, but at most times the Sharif owed allegiance to the ruler of one of the major Islamic empires based in Baghdad, Cairo or Istanbul. Most of the remainder of what became Saudi Arabia reverted to traditional tribal rule. 16th century unification of Arabia. In the 16th century, the Ottomans added the Red Sea and Persian Gulf coast to the empire and claimed suzerainty over the interior. One reason was to thwart Portuguese attempts to attack the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean. Ottoman degree of control over these lands varied over the next 4 centuries with the fluctuating strength or weakness of the empire's central authority. The emergence of what was to become the Saudi royal family, known as the Al Saud, began in Nejd in Central Arabia in 1744, when Muhammad bin Saud, founder of the dynasty, joined forces with the religious leader Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab, founder of the Wahhabi movement, a strict puritanical form of Sunni Islam. This alliance, formed in the 18th century, provided the ideological impetus to Saudi expansion and remains the basis of Saudi Arabian dynastic rule. Today, the first Saudi state, established in 1744 in the area around Riyadh, rapidly expanded and briefly controlled most of the present-day territory of Saudi Arabia, but was destroyed by 1818 by the Ottoman Viceroy of Egypt, Muhammad Ali Pasha. A much smaller second Saudi state, located mainly in Nejd, was established in 1824. Throughout the rest of the 19th century, the Al Saud contested control of the interior of what was to become Saudi Arabia with another Arabian ruling family, the Al Rashid. By 1891, the Al Rashid were victorious and the Al Saud were driven into exile in Kuwait. At the beginning of the 20th century, the Ottoman Empire continued to control or have a suzerainty over most of the peninsula. Subject to this suzerainty, Arabia was ruled by a patchwork of tribal rulers, with the Sharif of Mecca having preeminence and ruling the Hejaz. In 1902, Abdul Rahman's son, Abdul Aziz, later to be known as Ibn Saud, recaptured control of Riyadh, bringing the Al Saud back to Nejd. Ibn Sa'd gained the support of the Ikhwan, a tribal army inspired by Wahhabism and led by Faisal al-Dawish, and which had grown quickly after its foundation in 1912. With the aid of the Ikhwan, Ibn Sa'd captured Al-Ahsa from the Ottomans in 1913. In 1916, with the encouragement and support of Britain, the Sharif of Mecca, Hussein bin Ali, led a pan-Arab revolt against the Ottoman Empire to create a united Arab state. Although the Arab Revolt of 1916 to 1918 failed in its objective, the Allied victory in World War I resulted in the end of Ottoman suzerainty and control in Arabia. Ibn Sa'd avoided involvement in the Arab Revolt, and instead continued his struggle with the al-Rashid. Following the latter's final defeat, he took the title Sultan of Nejd in 1921. With the help of the Ikhwan, the Hejaz was conquered in 1924-25, and on 10 January 1926, Ibn Sa'd declared himself king of the Hejaz. A year later, he added the title of King of Nejd. For the next 5 years, he administered the two parts of his dual kingdom as separate units. After the conquest of the Hejaz, the Ikhwan leadership's objective switched to expansion of the Wahhabist realm into the British protectorates of Transjordan, Iraq and Kuwait, and began raiding those territories. This met with Ibn Sa'd's opposition, as he recognized the danger of a direct conflict with the British. At the same time, the Ikhwan became disenchanted with Ibn Sa'd's domestic policies, which appeared to favor modernization and the increase in the number of non-Muslim foreigners in the country. As a result, they turned against Ibn Sa'd and, after a 2-year struggle, were defeated in 1930 at the Battle of Sabia, where their leaders were massacred. In 1932, the two kingdoms of the Hejaz and Nejd were united as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.